Hello guys, glad to have you on board again. Today we do as usual and doesn't change a bit. We have a look at the Bitcoin. First we have a look at the daily chart. So what we have right now is a potential evening top pattern. So today's candle close will be interesting. Must not close at the low, and if it does, must not be close or below 50% of the previous high candle. I mean, we can close at the low right there, but not lower than that. That will be the limit to validate a potential bearish reversal structure below a temporary resistance, and that could restore bearish potential in that market. As you can see, momentum is nearly reaching out to neutral values, which is 0, and that could lead to some more bearishness. I mean, at that point we need to neutralize and then finally break up a resistance in here and reach out to the real target, which is right here. So the question is, will we manage to do that or not? So this is what we'll try to figure out in the time frame 2 hours in which we generally trade on. So these are the 2 clusters identified previously, and as you can see, that was a pretty good done job, as we reached out to the resistance point, not even entering a bit in there, and reached out to the support area, not entering in there as well. So we've got 2 options right now. It's either the game is already over and we'll basically die in here until the end of that week, like it was expected, and we'll have contracting momentum, not breaking that lower shadow, not breaking that upper shadow, and basically dying in here. And the next week will be the decision maker. Either we'll get back to the support area, either slightly deeper and before breaking up, which is an option, or crossing the entire bullish support area, getting in there, which I think bulls will have to trigger invalidation and eventually consider returning to the bearish main trend. But for now, nothing suggests such thing. So I'd say waiting in here is the best option. For those who've been missing the previous entry, can consider making one in here, but with lowest leverage, of course, lower leverage, as the price is not that good. For those who are trading upon breakout and will wait for confirmations, the only option right now is to wait for the price to get there once again and break higher to get to validate the trade, and in that case that will be buying in here with a stop loss in there, targeting target number 1. It's a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio, but of course that's what you get when you try to trade breakouts, and 1-to-1 in a breakout situation is even a very good rewarding trade, because generally you got negative return when you get to trade with breakout structure or breakout signals. So I think that's it regarding the Bitcoin. There's not much to tell. I think now we tested the resistance and both the supports. There's not much I can tell about that market. I strongly think that it's going to die in here, so nothing interesting to come until either we break up the resistance. So I'll put some alerts right now. One above the upper shadow candle, one below the lower shadow. Until we remain in there, there's really nothing to care about. So put your 2 alerts and just get out. It really is that simple. You can use the tip we've been using lately, which is the black box, which means right now, if you are facing troubles, just put in black box between invalidation and validation, and simply don't look at what the price is doing in the meantime. It's none of your concern, and it will force you not to have a look at prices when they are not relevant, because at that point either we get back to major support, and that's great danger for the bulls, or we break up the resistance, and that could be some signs of early validation of those trades. And of course, at that point, what's happening in between is not really interesting in a trading perspective. So we're not going to cover up Ethereum and IOTA, because I think right now everything is about the Bitcoin. So it's just figuring out if this one is going to hold the support or not. The 2 options remain very possible to me right now. It's hard to tell. I picked up the bullish side, but with very tiny leverage. For the reasons you already know, I'm following the daily scenario, the daily chart, what it tells me to do, to eventually buy on a trend, but not to forecast the trend changing scenario, just a pullback. So this is what I'm trading, and of course if we break down that support, I'll get back to the major bearish trend. Now moving on with the general indices, let's call the global market review. Got not that much today into the economic calendar. We've got existing home sales. It could be interesting thing to be related to inflation somehow. It's not the exact same thing as inflation, but that can be used to assess potential inflation. And we've got oil stocks, so not that big of a deal as well. So everything we have actually is in a 1 hour schedule, so 1 hour time frame schedule. So it basically the only catalyst we'll have are toward the US session, so nothing to expect, not that much to expect before having those, so we'll see about that. All I can see today is that the AUDNZD is finally returning to some resistances. That was really to be expected, and hopefully we finally have that. So we kind of terminated that thing, a very strong ABC correction. So we finally have that. I hope this is over. We'll have a catalyst tomorrow, or at least during the night. We'll see how this plays out. It's going to break to lower levels and I'll have to reduce my leverage, or we are validating and I'll have to put some more leverage in here. So it really is, the catalyst is going to push the market. I really have no idea which side this will be. All I can tell is that now we have a bullish momentum versus a bearish price. So we'll see if the price is breaking up the resistance to validate the momentum breakout or not. And if we are not, if we are failing, then we get back to lower levels, probably break down that support. So this is still an option. So I still don't have much confidence in AUDNZD. I still just think that we are in very interesting price in a medium to long term perspective. This is the only reason I'm buying right now. Now we've got something about Tesla. I've been sharing this yesterday, so I'm not going to get back to this. Yes, yesterday Netflix did a pretty great job, but that could, I mean, right now what we're having is a very sideways price action market, but with a one direction on the equities. It's really is crazy about that. It means that the market is heavily dangerous right now, but it's like Wall Street doesn't even care and only cares about going higher and selling volatility. So we'll see about that. Once again, that's a dangerous scenario to go against that, as we clearly identified the VIX as being a manipulated market. And as I said, and I've always been clear at that, when you trade against manipulators, you need to do it very cautiously. Wait for them to be into the sweet spots, dangerous sweet spots, in which you can eventually take advantage of wrong footing them. But be aware that this is not a certainty. I mean, those who've been selling volatility then can keep doing that for months. And if they keep on doing this, then you will keep on fighting against them for months, and they'll always win. So the only question is to find out where they will terminate that cycle of price and volatility manipulation. For now, we have no clues about that. But we've got greater danger coming overseas, as the Chinese index in Japan is really in very dangerous price area right now. What we have in here in the daily chart is really suggesting really need to be cautious. We had the exit pattern, now it's confirmed by a breakout. We clearly broke that trend line. So it's either we manage to get that up and flush that breakout by invalidating the trend line breakout, or we're just in a breakout and the market's going to fall apart. And if China is falling apart, believe me, US won't hold the resistances and won't hold the supports. So be aware that there is a great danger underlying with the risk in China, as today China has a lot of credit underlying the price structure. So if we have a problem with credit, then be aware that this is going to concern everyone in the world, not just China, because all the credit bubble is linked between all the countries, and if someone's getting down, then everyone is going to have to go down. It's not necessarily the end of the world kind of move, but if China is validating the breakouts, I mean, there's no chance to see the US equities getting to historical highs in the same time, or really we're no longer in the same market condition, and that will be really not a good sign. So be aware that great danger is coming from China right now. And tomorrow's candle on HSI will be pretty interesting. So we'll see how this plays out. But of course, if we get to break that down, means breaking down a quarter low, that will be a signal of reversal in the trend that is lasting since 2016. I mean, that will be the first time since 2016 that will break down a quarter low on the Chinese index. And of course, you can be sure that the others will follow. And for example, if we had to break a quarter low on the SPX, that's right here. Meaning, look at this. I mean, for the same supposed price action, Wall Street is 8% higher than the Chinese, which means good for them. But if they'll have to go there, they'll have to do it more brutally than the Chinese, which means if Wall Street's going to the downside, I think it's still, and I stand on this, 15% down movement at least. And eventually a bit more, because they've been holding prices for too long. They may have to pay the extended price because of this, but we'll see later on. Still highly speculative at that point, and the market is clearly telling you not to sell it. It really is that simple. Look at that. We've been going to the downside for 4 days, not managing to make a single bearish close in the meantime. And it's always we've been closing at the highs. So Wall Street wants to buy. It's clearly this. The word is selling and Wall Street's buying. They want to get your money, so it's really aggressive, and at some points it's either they are going to be wrong and wrong-footed brutally, very brutally, or they are just impose their truth to you and break up resistances just to fuck you up. So let's set things straight. We still have that bearish gap in here. It could be a target for Wall Street. So if somehow they're holding this thing for so long, it might be for just that reason. So we'll see about that. I'm not capitulating so fast. As long as we don't take over that big gap, I still think we're under pressure for a replicate of that move. But so far, it really is Wall Street is really telling us not to do it. Okay, Wall Street is telling you everything is fine. Don't sell, just buy, eyes closed. Don't ask questions. We're here to support you. This is what Wall Street is telling you right now. So we'll see how this plays out. Still has a bullish momentum so far. So if that support was to be held as a definite support, and if we went to go higher, well, I think I'll have to adjust my assessment on those U.S. indexes. But from what I can see, we're still in a bearish oscillation on the momentum, and we could reverse to negative value, which means we could finally get to make some closes at the low. So this is what I'd like to see. Somehow Wall Street trying to break up, failing to go to the previous high, selling, and then I'll be ready to get to deeper retracement and fucking up those who've been buying. But for now, I strongly think, and this is what I said yesterday, I think Wall Street is going to buy the low, and this is what they've done. I mean, they basically worked out the low at the early session, closed out the high. They're probably going to try to break up today, reach out to that price area, and we'll see how this plays out. I mean, 27.82 or 80, it's right there. This is where the bears will wait. So I think today the objective, the goal, will be to reach out to that price area and see how this plays out. And in that case, this could be a wave one, not the best case scenario for wave one, to be honest. All I can see right now is 1, 2, 3, 4 bottoms, which means not necessarily a trend wave, but more like a corrective wave. So we'll see. Today is going to be an interesting session on the SPX. I have absolutely no clue about what's to come, so it's really playing real cautious right now and see what the game is. But I think we can have extended correction so far. I mean, this is pretty fast for a correction. Look at this one. It took 2 waves to the downside. I think we can expect the same thing in here if this market remains bullish. And as I said, I think we go 2 waves down and then overlapping and fifth wave extended. So we'll see about that. Anyway, China is down the road. Really troubles if this one is falling apart. So this is what you might want to have a look at. On the other scenarios, we still have problems right now with the gold. I exited the gas, you know about that, but I still have problem with the gold, problem as well with the GBP USD. All those are because of the dollar. I mean, dollar is messing around right now. So the option I think we have in front of us is either this is creating resistance by 2 upper shadow candle, trying to break the resistance. I mean, we went higher than that, which means the resistance is broken. We've managed for the price to go higher. So I would say, okay, breaking resistance is a check. Now what's about to come? It's either we have a bearish momentum, and then I think we get there and probably break down the supports. Option number 2, we go slightly higher, reaching out to that area, which is the next resistance area, to find some nice bears in here to consolidate lower afterwards. So this is multiple choices, multiple options, but I think anyway the dollar is nearing its market top, temporary market top, because I think we go higher than that afterwards. Remember, you don't go straight forward, point A to point B. You have to range, to oscillate. This is why this is giving and taking. This is how the market works, breathing in, breathing out, you know that shit. So being patient right now is necessary. I think the dollar still wants to go upside, but doesn't have much of a potential to do it. So it's too late, way too late to consider trading this. But it can still be a problem in the short term. In a short-term perspective to anything that is linked to the dollar, and especially the scenarios I have ongoing with the GBP USD and the gold. So those are for now in danger because of the dollar, but I remain in those trades with a very large stop loss, tiny leverage. It's just speculative. You know how this is, okay? Now moving on with the VIX. This is really abnormal. Once again, really not what we're supposed to see. But somehow this is what the market's telling us, and you don't fight. Okay, so it's either things are going not pretty, and the VIX is going to break that resistance. Option number 2 is just the VIX doesn't give a shit, and it doesn't want to buy. The volatility sellers are just there. Anytime we've got a pullback, they're selling us, and no matter how deep we could go. I mean, I know this is crazy. But I don't think the VIX is bearish, okay? To be honest, from what I can see in here, is clearly a bullish structure ongoing. So I think today Wall Street's not going to buy, or if they do, it's not going to last for long, and I don't see us breaking supports. I mean, we've been testing supports, and I think right now we're just consolidating for a bit, messing around, letting Wall Street trying to go higher, but slightly higher, not making new highs. I mean, if the VIX is not managing to break 11, is not going there, then you can be sure the SPX is not going to break the resistance, okay? So it really is that option to me. We eventually go there, you know, slowing the shape, and then bam, finding another volatility. Probably later that week to eventually terminate bearish. So we'll see how this is. What matters to me right now is that we finally managed to get on the SPX. Sorry, I really want us to finally get that bearish candle to close. So once again, I don't mind the pullback. Really, is no problem to me having that pullback. All I want is not us reaching and making higher high, and all I want is us closing that candle at the low. So even if we mess around today, tomorrow, all I care is that if we have a bearish Friday that erase all the gains and make us a candle close at the low, then it's a won battle. It's just like that. I mean, we just need to close that week at the low, and it's game over for the bulls. Okay, if we do close it like that on Friday, then it's danger. It means that the bulls will try to break us up, and at that point I'll have to reduce the leverage, obviously. So for now, it's still highly probable for us to get a bearish week, but still it needs to be potential or considered potential at that point, as nothing is ever granted. But if we did have that, that would be a very, very nasty scenario down the road, with a bearish momentum, bearish oscillation, and bearish sine wave as well. Not yet bearish on sine wave, but it's about to come. Sine wave just needs to have a price confirmation to go bearish in here. So we'll see how this plays out in the next following days. And regarding the equity scenario, just be patient. The closing week, the weekly close, will be the essential elements to watch out for. And for now, it's still very unpredictable. So don't be too aggressive in here. I think that's all I have to tell you today. So we're going to stay there, and I'm going to take your questions. So in Boeing, you're almost at the top. Great job, because personally I was out, and now the price is too low for me to enter, so I'll wait. I missed the wave one, so the only options I have is waiting for us to find a support, retracing a bit and breaking down that support to get into a breakout entry. So good job if you've done that on Boeing. Don't forget to secure the trades. If you have the best price, you can do it easily and pretty fast. For the others like me who've been missing that trade, is simply waiting right now, not running after the price. You don't sell a support. I watch on a mobile device, and it's difficult to surprise when you mention different levels. Could you also say, yes, I should do it. I know about that. That's hell of a bad behavior I have, and figuring out to put that in my head and make it work on a day-to-day basis. Also, I'll try as hard as I can to tell the prices, but this is something I'm aware of, but somehow I can't manage to do it. It's crazy, but that's how brain works. I mean, okay, and thanks for those who say things. So I'll see you tomorrow. Wish you a good day, a good trading day, guys. So remain safe. We're in dangerous waters right now. It's not the moment to go crazy leveraged. Most likely being patient and waiting to have the swings to trigger to eventually get into more leveraged positions. Bye-bye.